I'd like to begin by thanking Mr. Tips and Ms. Kilman for what they do in the athletic office. I'd like to thank Coach Simpson and Coach Anderson for their assistance in running the athletic office. I'd like to thank Amika for the tireless work he does in training and all the staff and all the maintenance department. And of course, we're here to celebrate our coaches and seniors, and we're here to thank our parents for being so engaged and involved in the school. The history of this morning's event is recent. It wasn't very long ago that we had a banquet for seniors and parents at dinner, and it was nice, but it was very long and it didn't feel as personal. And so what we decided to do was to put more emphasis on the individual team dinners at the end of each season, and to have this brief and we hope sweet program this morning. And of course we've put together this program, which is a keepsake for you to get a sense of the history of the past 4 years and of course this senior year. So we are close, but not at the end yet. And I was reflecting yesterday about the finish of the spring sports, and so I am boldly perhaps pronouncing that maybe the best is yet to come in the next few weeks. We have, I think, at least 3 to 4 teams that have a very good chance of doing extremely well at the end. I'm at a point where I'm not quite as strong because there's this period of about 8 or 10 days after chemotherapy where you're a little weaker. But yesterday I thought it'd be fun, and it was, to go out and watch some sports as long as I could do it. So I went to this 8th grade baseball game where we won the HVAC championship. And then I came over to watch some track and soccer and baseball. But actually what stuck in my mind most when I woke up this morning was standing at the soccer field, first watching the seniors being presented since it was senior night, and then glancing to my right and seeing a number of their senior friends in the stands, enjoying one another and supporting their friends. And it actually ties into probably what is the most important thing I've thought about this week. And that is that in a period of loss, what is the right course forward? And I think particularly in an environment in a community like this one, the most important thought is that boys and men should learn in more thoughtful ways that there is an incredible strength in vulnerability. And understanding that, asking for help, finding ways to tell others that maybe you're not as strong as you are, will actually make you better and stronger. And so when I looked across yesterday afternoon and I saw those seniors together, watching their friends on the soccer field, it was an insight into that sense of caring and friendship. And so I thought making that comment this morning was probably the most important thing I can say, and probably something I should be thinking about more and more to say to the larger community. So my job, besides welcoming you, is to say that we're very pleased to have 4 seniors who will make some comments about their own experiences in sports, and they'll please come up one after the other, and then following them, Mr. Tips will come up. So please join me in welcoming Parker Bryan to the podium.
Good morning. Hello, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Parker Bryan. For the most part of my time on the Hill, sports have been my life. And I started out in 7th grade playing football, basketball, and baseball. For the most part, my memories come from either Coach Jocks, if any of y'all remember him, Coach Moran, or Gabe Angel. And, my main memory from that year is one time I thought I was playing pretty well in one of our first games, and Coach Jocks takes me out, and I was kind of mad why, because I just wanted to help our team win. And so I went to the end of the bench, and I sat down in frustration, kind of hit the chair. I don't know. And so I actually missed Coach Jocks' hand that was right here, about to give me a high five, and that kind of ticked him off. So after the game, I kind of got a nice little talk from Coach Moran and Coach Jocks about how selfish that was. I didn't really understand it at the time, but it really helped me grow. And in 8th grade, I continued playing football, basketball, and baseball. And football, I scored my first touchdown. And we lost to BA. Darn. Basketball was an up and down season. I'll never forget, it was our last game. We're down 2 to CPA, and Chapman throws me this long ball all the way across the court. I catch it at the three-point line, and ignoring the play that Coach Jackson had for us, I took one little dribble, and being the star player I am, I pulled up from 3 and for the game-winning shot, and but the sad thing was it wasn't the game-winning shot. I airballed, and that was that. Also 8th grade was the year of Coach Go in baseball. That's the year of T-ball and the vault for any of y'all who played. Let me tell you, those are just incredible things that impact your life, and it's just a great time. So anyways, having somewhat of success in all 3 of these sports, I felt like I was somewhat prepared for high school. Well, no, I was not. By 9th grade, I was asked to play for JV basketball with Coach Englund, and I get there and I'm feeling confident, and then these 2 guys walk in the door, like 6'6" and 6'7", and one of their names was Tom Kaiser, went by Tree, and he had just had these long arms. So whenever I'm guarding him, he'd elbow me, and it really hurt. So I kind of got used to that, and I played football under Coach Sawyer that year. That was a fun time, and baseball was also fun that year, but it was also something that I hadn't really experienced in my sports career. I was sitting on the bench like for 9 games in a row or something. My sports career, for the most part, I'd been an integral part of every team, and not playing at all, it kind of really hurt me deep, and I didn't really know what to do other than get mad at Coach Kimball for not playing me. So that really didn't turn out too well as far as practices. I'm sure a lot of you all remember the sprints and stuff. But so after that year, I decided to just stop playing baseball because it was really hard to balance all 3 sports and academics at MBA. So my sophomore year, I got to play in the Innsworth game that year for football. I'll never forget on the Thursday before, I come into the huddle and there's these 5 big senior linemen. I come in and Jay Sean looks at me, the guy who plays at UT right now. He's okay. He looks at me. He goes, "You ready?" I go, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Man, this guy just said yes, sir." And I was like, "Oh no!" And they all laughed at me, and it was a terrible moment, terrible. So that was fun. Sophomore year, basketball, I got to play, I played pretty well that year. It was probably my best basketball year as far as points and stuff go. We ended up losing down at Briarcrest, and just kind of seeing how the seniors, felt for each other after losing, just kind of showed me maybe there's a little bit more than just winning. Junior year, football. Hey, we won the state championship this year. This was a good year, I'll tell you what. And the comradeship on this team and leadership was just incredible. I don't think any team could really match it. And there's a reason we ended up on top. Basketball this year. Not one of my favorite teams, but I was a part of it. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Senior year. Football. I'll tell you what, this last season, Coach U, Coach Brock, Coach Moran, Coach Barclay, and that, with all 29 seniors, I loved all of y'all. It was honestly probably the best experience of my life, and I'll never forget it, every single one of y'all. I'm so blessed to have coaches that care about us as much as they do, and I just can't imagine what I would do if I didn't have all y'all. Honestly, I'm going to say losing in the state championship game was probably better for us in the long run because it taught us how to come together. And I know we all would have liked to beat BA, but there's when you lose, it's like if we won, it would have been cheers and stuff for the next week. But I don't think we would have come together as much as we had. And so I really think that we learned a lot from losing, but I don't think that we measure the success of our team based on that last game, because I think we all know the effort that we put in. I think we all just don't have any regrets as far as that goes. Basketball, we only had like 3 seniors this year, but we all put our effort in every year. Clark, Allen, and Carson Talbot and I tried our best to lead that team the best we could do, and that was it was a fun season, just learning how to integrate sophomores to the lineup and whatnot. So after my experiences at MBA sports, I've had a lot of time to reflect on it, and I've always told myself that winning is how you should define your success in sports. But I would always think that winning a state championship in football or winning a state championship in basketball, which the state championship in basketball did not happen, sorry. Well, I came to realize that the most important thing is that the relationships and comradeship that you have built with your teammates, that's the most important thing at the end of the day. That's the stuff you remember, the memories, And so, everybody's season ends eventually, but it's what you remember beforehand and the memories that you built during the season. That's what actually sticks with you, not the trophy. Before I end, I just want to say a personal thanks to Coach Anglin, Coach Mack, Coach U, Coach Brock, Coach Barclay, and most importantly, Coach Moran. I am forever grateful for the impact that MBA sports have had on my life. Thank you.
Morning. Baseball is not just a hobby. These are the words of Coach Anderson that, with the season we've had this year, it feels like we hear almost every week. And I often look around when I hear these words in the huddle of guys, and sometimes I'll see some heads shaking, eyes rolling, things like that. But this quote, honestly, has taught me a lot, and it kind of exemplifies how sports at MBA have taught me dedication and to be dedicated. From playing 60 games in the summer to get ready for a relatively short spring season, to running lots of miles on these same days, sports have really taught me, I think, preparation. From running in May for a meet that's all the way off in November, just to be a decent runner has taught me to prepare. And if you want to be more than just decent, maybe your last name is Peters, or maybe you're cousins with Coach Cam or something. But this preparation that I've learned has helped me beyond the athletic fields and beyond the cross-country course, preparing for tests in advance, things like that, instead of preparing for a test the period right before. Also, sports have taught me to hold myself accountable. So during cross-country season, oftentimes we'll have scheduled weekend workouts, but the coaches won't be there. So if I wanted to, instead of doing my 8-mile workout, I could go out and jog 4 miles and then come back on Monday and say, yeah, I did the 8-mile workout. But obviously I've learned that that's not acceptable, and I've learned to hold myself accountable. And holding myself accountable in a sport like cross country that's so grueling, so hard, it's made everything else easy. And I believe that when I move forward into college, it's going to make the things I do there a lot easier, and I'm going to be able to hold myself accountable really easily. I've learned to do the right thing when no one's watching. In addition, sports and MBA have taught me to compete. When you're a freshman and you step out onto the baseball field for the first time in front of new coaches, new players, it can be a bit intimidating. And you don't have a spot, no matter who you are. So you have to learn to compete with your friends, compete with other people to fight for that spot. And you don't have much time, the pressure's on, you have to deal with adversity. And I really learned how to deal with adversity, I think, my freshman year trying out for baseball. I had a tough start, and then it came together later on as I dealt with the adversity. Also, with competing, I want to bring up a short story from cross country. So when I was in 9th grade, my brother was in 11th grade, and we're pretty competitive. It was my first ever 5K race, and I didn't think about it before. I didn't think I could beat him or anything. But the race starts, and I get to the 2-mile mark, and there's Coach Russ always standing there at the 2-mile mark to cheer me on, and he's like, hey, your brother's up there. Why don't you go get him? And I kind of put my head down. I was like, all right, I'm going to try to go get him, I guess. And we get to the 3-mile mark, and I'm probably within about 10 strides of Davis. And Coach Cam's like, you got to go get him. You got to go get him. And so I lowered my head, and I went, and I got him. And if it hadn't been for those coaches, no way I would have gone and got him. No way I would have even seen him. So they've really taught me to compete. And nowadays, in such a competition-oriented world, it's good to have roots in competition from your coaches and know how to compete. I'd also like to talk about some of the amazing friendships I've made playing sports in NBA. There's something special about sports that you don't get from anything else, that you build these amazing bonds, whether it's from the spring break trip in baseball, riding on a bus for 9-10 hours. You're going to find stuff to talk about. And also on a 2-hour long run, you're running with somebody, you're not just going to be quiet the whole time. So you find some interesting things to talk about, and you make some amazing bonds. Finally, I'd like to thank all my coaches for believing in me and teaching me so much. Coach Russ, Coach Cam, Coach Pruitt, Coach Bassett, Coach Anderson, Coach Martin, Coach Pettis, Coach Kimball, and Coach Tips. Thank you for believing in me. I have one more story about Coach believing in me, and that's from the only race in cross country that I ever won. Now, let me tell you, it was a JV race, so it's not like anything special, but I'd say for the last 2 miles of the race, Coach Russ was literally running with me. He ran the last 2 miles with me. I don't know what he was yelling, but he was yelling something in my ear the whole time, and I was like, oh, okay, But he believed in me, and that honestly means so much to me, even though it's just a JV race. It means so much to me, and that just shows the dedication of these coaches, and the dedication from them really carries over to the athletes. So once again, I'd like to thank all the coaches. Thank you, Mr. Gioia, for letting me speak. Thank you, Coach Tips. And roll red.
Hello, all. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chase Meluch, and I've been on the varsity soccer team since my freshman year. There's been ups and downs each and every year. Freshman year, we were the favorites to win the state championship. We hadn't lost a game all year long and had barely ever been scored on. We made it to the state finals, where we would play Father Ryan, our biggest rivals. We lost 2-1 in overtime by an unbelievable goal in the last few seconds of overtime that I'm pretty sure most of y'all have probably seen. It was a heartbreaking moment. I know I will never forget that game, but even more importantly, I know that I will never forget the moments right after the game with the team. Everyone was in tears. We were in shock. To work as hard as we did for so long and come up short was nothing short of devastating. In our huddle at the end of the game, Coach Cheevers did his best to cheer us up and remind us that this is a game of soccer and sometimes the better team doesn't always win. He then said something that stuck with me and the rest of the younger players on the team. You know, lads, sometimes you have to lose one to win one. 2 years later, in my junior year, we had already lost the previous state finals game, so we figured it was our time to win one. We went out and beat Christian Brothers 3-0. Winning this game was nothing short of amazing, but the best part about it wasn't the trophy or the title of state champions. The best part was the realization that all of our hard work had paid off. All those Saturday morning runs, beep tests, quick lifts, and random speeches by Cheevers had finally paid off. The simple joys of that night are what I will remember most about winning a state title with that team. On the way back to school that night, the team had fun and made more memories, singing Colt 45 as a team, and then Andrew Porter singing Frank Sinatra, and William Porter giving one of his signature speeches. My soccer career has been fantastic to me, not because of the on-field games and practices, but instead because of the off-field camaraderie and friendships formed. The team goes to Atlanta for a few days before spring break every year. And on this trip, the soccer squad bonds to become more of a team. Several funny jokes were made. Unfortunately, when I was a freshman, they were mostly directed towards me. A group of us, freshmen and sophomores, were at Meluch on a Saturday night. When I got back to my hotel room, I was surprised with almost everyone on the team throwing a bedsheet over my head, trying to push me into the bathroom, which happened to be full of crickets that they had recently bought. Although I'm not afraid of crickets, I did scream like a little girl. They eventually cleaned out the crickets, so I thought the jokes were over. But then I went to the bathroom to take a shower, and unexpectedly I found 2 fighting fish in the bathtub attacking each other. These jokes may be seen as stupid or annoying, and at first they were a little bit irritating to me, but now I think of them as a hilarious memory that I will never forget. Being a part of the soccer team is a roller coaster full of drops, spins, flips, turns, but mostly memories, very good memories. Seniors, when you go to college, you don't have to be on the D1 football, baseball, or soccer team to play a sport or to play a sport. When you go to college to play a sport or continue your high school careers, go be a walk-on, play club or intramural sports. If you know me at all, I'm a huge activity guy. Who knows, I might be on the beach volleyball or water polo intramural squad. What I do know is that when I play on an intramurals team, I will make new friends and make more memories. Seniors, I want to challenge each of you to not necessarily play a sport, but to try something new, make some new friends, and make more memories next year at college. Thank you.
Good morning. My time participating in sports at MBA has been one of the most enjoyable and memorable experiences of my life. I played football for the 6 years that I've been here, and also wrestled starting in 8th grade. Because I grew up going to MBA football games with my dad and brother, who are both alums and former players, playing football for the Big Red was a childhood dream of mine. From the day I stepped on campus, I was all in. For this reason, I joined the wrestling team in 8th grade in order to stay in shape and improve my skills. MBA football has always been very important to me. Therefore, I made it my goal to do everything I could to put MBA's football program back on the map. A program that was struggling about 5 years ago with a few mediocre seasons and having not won a state championship since 2007. Looking back, I can confidently say that we achieved this goal, as MBA is once again considered one of the strongest teams in the state. So as y'all probably know, playing football and wrestling at MBA is not easy. Summers are sacrificed for 6:30 football workouts in the morning and a week at bell buckle, and winter breaks are sacrificed for 3-hour wrestling practices all week, followed by all-day tournaments on Saturdays. However, I do not regret making these sacrifices. I'll share with you Proverbs 24:10, a Bible verse constantly reminded to us by Coach Lovvorn. It says, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." Much of this adversity came in the form of these workouts and practices. Adversity also showed up on Friday nights when we had to overcome a lead, or when a player went down and the next guy had to step up. But knowing that the guy next to you has endured the same adversity as you have is what brings players together on a team. Because of these sacrifices we made together, my teammates and I have a bond that will last a lifetime. Many years down the road, we will have many successes to remember, such as a 32-6 record over 3 years, winning a state championship, or playing in another. However, the unwritten memories will be what makes me happiest. By these memories, I mean the time spent together with my teammates, the locker room after practices and games, our team meals, those bus rides home. That's the good stuff. The time spent with these guys has built some of the strongest friendships. I would not trade this friendship and brotherhood that was formed from being a part of these teams for anything. Not for more wins, not for another trophy, and not for another ring. To get to play the sport that I love most alongside my very best friends has been a true gift. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to making our time as athletes here on the Hill such a wonderful experience. Thank you, and roll Red.
Thanks, Sam. I want to echo something that Brad said when he first got up here, and that is to thank the people who make this all happen. A year ago, I was sitting where you were. I was a parent and didn't give a lot of thought to how these games get put together and how kids get from one place to the other. But I got to tell you, there's a whole lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. And the coaches here spend an inordinate amount of time preparing, and I just want to thank our coaches. I want to thank people like David Norton and Jim Schlichting, who are working behind the scenes all the time, just tirelessly making sure that the gym is ready, or a field is ready, the clock is working most of the time. The referees are going to be there. And so I want to thank those guys. I'd like to thank Mike Anderson and Frank Simpson, the assistant athletic directors, for what they do. They work tirelessly behind the scenes. And I want to thank Brad for his support of the sports programs here. He's very supportive and very involved all the time, and I appreciate his interest. And I really want to thank our athletics manager, Gracie Kilman, who Brad had the wise insight to hire, because without her, none of this would happen, including what you're seeing here, because she pretty much runs everything and tells me what to do and where to be. And so I appreciate all you do, Gracie. Listening to Sam and Chase and Carter and Parker talk about friendships and relationships, I think highlights why we play sports. We play sports to strive and to sweat and to struggle for a common goal with the people who mean the most to us, our teammates. In today's world, I get tired of hearing about the news of sport always being about some colossally stupid act of self-centeredness, or about the ugly underbelly that is the business of pro sports nowadays. And these guys have talked about sports in its purest form. They've talked about why we play, and they've articulated it well. I think we play because sports builds a sense of community. It builds confidence and character. It makes us empathize with other people and care about other people. It teaches us leadership and persistence and diligence. And we learn to survive sometimes stress and pressure. And ultimately, we learn how to handle life's successes that are sure to come, and most definitely, life's crushing blows that are sure to come. And it's these things, these values that bind us together and get us through the tough times. And as Brad said, this has been a tough week. We've lost 2 members of our family, and it's been very hard. It's been hard for teachers and faculty, staff, and for most of all for these boys. And the people with whom we sweat and bleed and laugh and cry are the ones we can count on in tough times, our teammates. So boys, I want to thank you for being a part of MBA sports, and I want to thank you for being great teammates. The memories that you've made here and the friendships that you've created will last a lifetime, I can assure you. I still remember vividly the kids that I played ball with in high school and college, and some of them are still my best friends, even though they live 1,000 miles away. And it's been decades. Let's just leave it at that. Parents, for some of you, this is the end of a chapter, and I know that's bittersweet. You have taken these guys to hundreds, if not thousands, of practices and games. You've traveled all over the country, some of you, and it's tough to see some of that come to an end. And boys, I want you to thank your parents for what they've done for you. Without them, you wouldn't be here, literally, but also without them, you wouldn't have gotten into where you are sports-wise. You wouldn't have accomplished what you've accomplished. You wouldn't have gotten to experience what you've experienced. And you won't know till you become parents how much time it takes and how much commitment it takes. So please thank them. Hug them and tell them you love them. Guys, at the end of the day, I'm going to miss you. I hate to see you leave, but you've got great futures in front of you. I'm so proud of what you're all going to go do. And I want you to know that you're always welcome back anytime. We'd love to have you come back to all of our sporting events. I love looking up and seeing somebody yesterday when the baseball game was over, came out of the dugout, sad, tough loss, and there was T.J. Jefferson from last year. Loved seeing him. So you're welcome. Please come back because we love you and we're going to miss you. Thanks for all you've done. And that concludes our program. Thank you for coming.